Use your powers for evil.
Evil? Your evil is mine.
To Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs. With me in the TARDIS, as always, my partner in crime and my partner in time, everybody's favorite partner in time, Jesse Jackson.
Hey, Charles. Wow, we're talking Doctor Who. We're not talking Titans. We're not talking,
Phantom Zone.
Phantom Zone. Yeah, it's good.
Yep. So back in the old, TARDIS, and life is good. So,
absolutely.
I want to give a quick public thank you to you, Jesse, for helping us out on the Phantom Zone. As we've talked about, Karen Lindsay, friend of the show, her mother passed here about a couple weeks ago, and so your help was definitely appreciated. So I want to give you a big thanks. So
well, thanks. I appreciate that. It was fun to do, and of course, we always want to send love to the podcast mom, Karen. So
always. Hopefully, she'll be feeling up to recording once again soon. But obviously, we're going to give her all the time she needs.
Absolutely.
So for today here on Next Stop Everywhere, we're going to talk about Infamy of the Zaross, and you might be like, wait. I don't know that episode. What is that? Well, that is the first CD of Big Finish's Doctor Who, The 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 2 set that came out late at the end of 2017, and starring David Tennant and Billie Piper. So we have the return of Billie Piper as Rose Tyler here, and we also have the return of Camille Coduri as Jackie Tyler. So I'm looking forward to talking about this one with you, Jesse. I hope you liked it.
I did. I have a few issues with it as an audio story. I think it would have made a better visual story because of the multiple characters and the story, but it was definitely enjoyable.
Well, I think maybe it's one of these stories that tries to leave it up to the imagination, as some of these audio plays do. But yeah, I agree. I think you're right. It probably would have worked better as a visual story, but for the most part, I think it works as an audio.
Oh, I absolutely. I think this is sometimes there's audio stories that you go, wow, that was just perfect in this medium. Like, for example, I think a lot of the John Hurt
War Doctor
stories were just really amazing, and they worked perfectly as an audio drama. And this, while I enjoyed it, and I'm certainly going to give it, spoilers, a high rating, I just would have loved to seen this being on the screen because of a little bit of the twist of the story.
Right, and I think with the Zaross, as we find out through the course of the story, being made up from like actual makeup, posing as a completely different alien, I think that would have been a much better reveal visually.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So let's give a little background on this before we get into the discussion. This was written by John Dorney, who's obviously written for Big Finish, and directed by Nicholas Briggs. Yes, that Nicholas Briggs, the voice of the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Ice Warriors, you name it, he's it. And this is, again, from Big Finish Productions. And we have, in addition to Camille Coduri, We have some notable cast members that I want to run through real quick. We have Rosie Cavaliero who plays Marge Elmore, the Jackie's friend, who that kind of verbally abusive mother in this story. She played a character named Cassie Schofield, the mother of Thomas Hector Hex Schofield, who was a Seventh Doctor audio companion in Big Finish Audios. She was in the stories, the Big Finish stories, Project Twilight and Project Lazarus. And we have Guy Henry, who plays Director Ikron. And he's notable from film. He played an obscure Harry Potter character named Pius Thickness in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And more notably, he played Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool, I think. So I thought that was worth mentioning. And we have George Watkins as a dual role. He plays Tanan, Ikron's assistant, and he also plays Steve Thomas, this kind of young male that happens to be hanging around during all the chaos that gets captured. He's most notable because, hey, he happens to be Peter Davison's nephew.
Ah.
So we're kind of keeping it in the family. Hooray for nepotism, once again. So yeah, he's Peter Davison's nephew, and we have Peter Davison's son-in-law and David Tennant in this story. So
wow.
Yeah, we kind of just need Davison himself and maybe Georgia Moffat thrown in for good measure.
Yeah,
on this
exactly.
One. He also he's been in I think one or two Big Finish audios. His most notable one is a Big Finish audio from the Gallifrey series called Gallifrey Enemy Lines. He played a character named Gaul. So this isn't his first introduction into the Doctor Who universe, but it's his first in a Doctor Who story. So I think that's kind of cool. So kind of, keeping it all in the family. So I just thought those were pretty notable people to bring up.
Absolutely.
All right. So ready to talk about our first topic?
I am.
All right. See if you can guess the theme for this week's titles. All right. Topic number 1, Gallifrey's Got Talent. And this is obviously the 10th Doctor, and I might as well throw Rose in here as well. The 10th Doctor and Rose reunited once again, so I want to get your thoughts on hearing these two together again.
So it is always wonderful to have David Tennant in the TARDIS, no matter what whether it's by the film or on audio.
Right.
It's just great to have him in that. The episode did a great job of capturing his humor and his personality. I loved the little scene where Jackie calls them and they show up almost immediately, and they said, actually, we've been waiting, in the bedroom waiting for you to make the call to not
for like 5 minutes. They show up 5 minutes early.
I certainly, it's good to see Rose. This is, one of the beautiful things about Big Finish Audio is they can fill in the gaps, because, the idea is we only see part of the adventures of the Doctors, and so to have another adventure set in this era is pretty fun. So it was great to hear David again. It was great to hear Rose again, Billie Piper. I know there was a little bit of concern. I read afterwards they weren't sure if she would be able to do her accent right or sound like it, and I thought she sounded like Rose, and I felt like they were back in character immediately.
Right. Yeah, because you have to kind of keep this in perspective that it was, believe it or not, 11 years since Billie Piper had acted as Rose. Now, she was in the 50th anniversary special, but she played the moment there.
Yes.
So this is the first time we've really gotten to hear Billie Piper as Rose for 11 years now, which kind of, those years are creeping up, aren't they? Back when in series 2. So yeah, did it as a David Tennant fan, as him, with him being your Doctor, Was it just really great just to hear him in a new adventure like this?
Oh, absolutely. It was great to hear him. And actually, it was, as I talked about earlier, this was a really clever storyline and an interesting adventure. So it was great to see.
Yeah. So obviously he's the Doctor is kind of there to help deal with the threat of the Zaross, this alien menace that just shows up in the city of Norwich in England. And after getting a call from Jackie, left on Rose's answering message machine, on her voicemail, really. And so he shows up, is immediately a little suspicious because he doesn't recognize the Zaross. And obviously he's pretty well traveled by this point in this 10th incarnation, has never heard of the Zaross, and even goes to the trouble of like going through the TARDIS databanks. He runs like the TARDIS doesn't seem to recognize the Zaross either. He runs what's called like a facial recognition program, something to that effect. And the closest thing that spits out is a race called the Forzel, but they're peace-loving. And as we find out through the course of the story, the Zaross obviously more than they seem, and we'll talk about them more eventually. But what did you think of the Doctor interacting with Jackie? You know, and his skepticism, like, oh, you're the one always causing trouble.
I have been on the record that I am not a fan of Jackie.
Right.
Though I felt she did a good job this episode. And not to maybe blur our topics.
Yeah, because I was going to talk about them a little more.
I assume we have the Real Housewives of Gallifrey, or at least Cardiff.
We're close.
Okay. So I always love the fact that she's giving the Doctor grief about her daughter and making sure that he's keeping her safe, and he's a little bit too smug for his own good.
Right.
Excuse me. And there is I did not write it down. I did not do a good job of homework for this episode. I'm hoping that Christine will jump on and do quotes for us. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be a nice special guest, considering she wasn't going to be a part of it. But that would be kind of awesome if she did.
Yes.
If she piped in and goes, "Hey guys."
But there is a wonderful quote, and you might have had it, where Jackie talks about, well, I'm just going to fake it till I make it, but a different version, because isn't that what the Doctor does? And so, yeah, I just...
Yeah. Go ahead.
I like their interaction more than I did, and maybe it's because...
Some time has passed,
yes,
maybe?
And also the context of this, and I'll save that till we start talking about Jackie and her friend.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about the 10th Doctor or Rose? Now, I should go. You want to talk about Rose for a little bit? What you thought about her in this episode?
Yeah, I thought she was good. I thought, she, like I said, there was a lot of characters, and I don't know if everyone got their full time on this one. So I feel like Rose got a little bit short-shifted.
Yeah, I did too.
But that's okay, because I really enjoyed Jackie and her friend and her friend's daughter. So I thought their story was a pretty good one. So I'll be, I was good to see. It was just good to hear Rose in the TARDIS again. And you feel, the last time we talked, we did the Shakespeare Code, where we had my favorite companion with my favorite Doctor, but I certainly love Rose with the Doctor and how we did that. So yeah, it was good to see.
You enjoyed hearing their dynamic again.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It was nice to hear Rose, I think, after all this time. Again, I think a lot of us were a little regretful that the character Rose wasn't in the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor. even though Billie Piper herself was.
Yes.
So it was kind of nice to hear her again. The Rose, like I want to say Billie Piper in this story, it seemed like she was also trying to kind of find her feet again,
Okay.
a little bit as Rose. It seemed like the tone wasn't quite there, at least in the beginning. I think as the story progressed, it seemed like, I don't know if it was just she seemed more comfortable with it, or my ears listening to this seemed like she was more in character. I'm not sure which, but it seemed like as the story progressed, things kind of started clicking more as she kind of got back into the rhythm with David Tennant. And I like this. I like the exchange. There's a little bit of character development between Rose and Jackie, where, and we'll kind of talk about this, I think, a little bit, but Jackie ends up going into orbit and can kind of appreciate a little more now of what Rose experiences when she's traveling and understand why she's traveling with the Doctor.
Yes.
And I like the fact that Jackie told Rose that she was proud of Rose, which is always nice to hear.
It did. I really liked that moment. So yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we might as well just kind of segue into our second topic, since we seem to be doing so anyway.
Exactly.
So you were pretty close. I came up with the title "The Real Housewives of Norwich."
Okay, very nice.
So you were pretty on about this. So this is obviously Jackie and also Marge and Jess, her daughter Jess. So I want to get we've talked a little bit about Jackie, but I also wanted to talk about Marge and her kind of verbally abusive treatment of her daughter Jess, and Jess's feelings that hey, maybe she would just rather die so that she could become famous. And I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
which seemed a little dark, really. This
was a little dark, and it made for a really interesting storyline. First off, I love seeing Jackie proud of Rose.
Yeah, it's nice.
And having a matter of fact, I know what to do. No, don't call the police. Let me call my daughter. They're going to do this.
And Marge is just like, understandably, well, what's she going to do? Is she going to be able to stop an alien invasion? Well, yes, as it turns out, she might help out with that.
Yeah. And that's really nice. And then her understanding kind of reminds me of the Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, right? Where Roy's dad is sitting there having his tea, eating a sandwich, dangling his feet off the TARDIS.
Yes, yes.
This whole, oh my goodness, this is what she sees.
Right, to kind of get that little taste of something more than her ordinary life.
Yeah, and I like the idea that she understands, she believes, and she doesn't quite trust the Doctor, or she's not going to give him a total pass, but she knew who to contact and what to do. So that was a nice moment. And then her friend giving such a hard time to, I guess it's her friend's, is it Rosie?
Marge,
yeah. Marge going, oh, my worthless daughter, and she's trying to make fun of Jackie and Rose. She's kind of, oh, I've got one of those too that doesn't work, and Jackie wouldn't let her have that. And then kind of we have the where Rose tells off Marge that you can't talk bad about your daughter again, ever, because look what she did when you did nothing. So I really liked that part of the episode a great deal. The character, which is, of course, always one of the best parts of any television show, just not Doctor Who, this character movement and character growth was really well done.
Yeah, I agree. I like the scene where Rose is trying to reassure Jess in this story that when Jess is talking about, hey, you know, all my life have been thought of as worthless and ignored, and you know, people the media and everybody tells you that, you know, like, well, only famous people are important, so I'm not famous, so therefore I'm not important, but this will make me famous even if it kills me, and I would rather be famous than alive. And you know that you know, just she feels that this would be some kind of way to wipe the slate clean, as she refers to it. And Rose is trying to go, look, no, that's not the case at all. That's stupid. That you know, your life is important, you're important, and they actually, you know, spend a few moments trying to Rose of trying to talk her down from this rather extreme step that she's ready to take. And then at the end of the story, at the end of the story, she also kind of gives Jess a parting advice that, hey, look, if your mom just keeps up with this abuse, just leave and go get your own life.
Yeah, and I do think some parents and spouses and siblings, whatever personal relationship you want, you can get into a rut, a cycle of, well, you know, he's the undependable one, or
Right.
she's the silly one, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I really liked that part of that, and it was a little sad, but I thought it was realistic that I'd rather be famous and dead versus alive and a non-entity.
Right.
And, you know, and as the doctor says, you know, in all the space of time, I've never met anyone who is unimportant.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, and I also like the scene where Jackie and Jess, they come across an armory, and Jackie gets a gun, you know, like a BFG, a big effing gun.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, at first you're like, well, I don't think the doctor's going to be approving of you using a gun, Jackie. But then Jackie makes this comment that, oh, you know, I'm just going to threaten people with it. I'm not going to actually use it.
Yeah, I just want to point it at someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so they come across the director, Icron, and Jackie pulls the gun on him, you know, intending to threaten him, and he's just like, nope, that's a prop, idiot.
Yes.
And, of course, it does turn out to be a prop, and she's kind of like, oh, heck.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. But I love her plan and her, you know, kind of a little bit of moxie. You know, I'm going to show this. I like that a lot.
Right. Yeah, well, you know, Jackie's not the type to really roll over to people.
No.
She's kind of she's a lot like her daughter. She's very headstrong and isn't afraid to speak her mind when she needs to. So, which is good. I mean, it's good that she's assertive, but this was kind of played to comedic effect, and I just thought I liked that exchange. I thought it was fun, and I like the fact that she of course called out her friend Marge. You know, and I thought that was good. You know, like you know, when Rose is telling Marge off, and Marge is looking to Jackie like, aren't you going to do something about this? And Jackie's kind of like, no, I think Rose is doing just fine, thanks.
Yeah, I did too. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, that was good. All right. Anything more about these characters before we move on?
No.
All right. As we move right along rather steadily, third topic, final topic, extreme makeover. And this is, of course, the Zaross, a.k.a. the Forzel, and the Haziri I want to talk about here. So what did you think of these alien races, Jesse?
So I loved this part of the story as well. And that's why I think if I'd seen it on the screen versus just audio, it would have been a little better reveal. It would have been a little more exciting. Probably would have been a lot more expensive because of the sets.
Right.
You know, I love the beginning. because at first you aren't sure what's going on. The pre-credit sequence, you're hearing all this noise, and then like, okay, roll opening credits, and it wasn't until afterwards you realize what was going on. Not the most wackiest idea of a reality show ever.
Right.
But I think that was a cool reveal, and the doctor being upset because they are really killing people.
Right.
They're just
well, he's understandably outraged.
Yes.
And it's always great to hear Tennant being outraged about something.
You love that. And the whole idea of, it looks like we're only doing, we just have to make it appear like we're conquering the whole world, and just the ins and the outs of the episode, this reality series, and how well their ratings were, to hear that kind of talk about is really nice.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was interesting. Now, so the gist of the story, as we find out, is the Forzel apparently have felt ignored, and obviously there's some good parallels here with Jess's character, where they feel ignored, unappreciated. So they've decided to try to reinvent themselves as a fictional alien race called the Zaross, after being approached by the Haziri, who have promised them all this fame and riches and whatnot. And so the Forzel end up like actually donning makeup, and it was kind of funny to hear the 10th Doctor going, "Are you wearing makeup?" And pulls like they've got like prosthetic noses or whatever, and it pulls them off to kind of reveal their true face. So they try to reinvent themselves, but over the course of the story, we find out, hey, the Haziri, this is not their first race they've approached. The Forzel think that, well, the series only began with them, that it's about them, but as we find out, it's really about the Haziri, because there was a previous race. I'm trying to figure what the name of the race was. The Drozini that was before them, that apparently they were the it race at the time on the show, and they were the star from what's called series 4 through 7. So it's essentially seasons 4 through 7, and they had killed a race called Raboon when they took over in series 4. So who were apparently the race during seasons 1 through 3. So even though the Forzel, the Zaross, think that, oh, okay, well, we've been around a few years, we're it. Yeah, it turns out they're just the latest in a long line. And the doctor points out that, well, hey, once everybody gets bored with you, what's to stop the Haziri from bringing in another race to replace you? And This is what gets them thinking, oh, crap, we've kind of screwed up this, haven't we? And so I just thought that was kind of interesting, that and the idea to use reality shows, and then what they refer to as scripted reality, which of course is just pure fiction. It's just a big euphemism for fiction, really. Yes. So whenever you watch scripted reality shows on television, that's fiction. It's not real. It's just a euphemism.
Yeah, and one of the things
it's not reality.
Yeah, you don't have to pay writers guilds, even though that was, in one of the strikes they talked about,
right,
is by calling this, they were able to not pay necessarily, writer guilds wages and such. So,
creating like a legal loophole,
yes,
for them to get around.
Yeah, and I do think it's interesting that so many people. I think most people do understand that reality shows are scripted in a lot of ways, and even if they aren't written, they're edited to make it to sell a certain story.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was just a very clever story idea. The idea that that we're manipulating people for entertainment purposes. and seeing what what they're doing, and I just liked this story a lot, and just was kind of going. I did not see it coming.
Right.
And this was a nice twist for me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I thought it was actually really good commentary on these scripted reality shows. That just obviously it's taken to a science fiction level.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good observations about these shows in this, about how truly fake they are, even though people may think of them as real. And I like that. I thought that was good. The Haziri I thought were an interesting race because they're essentially like just TV show runners. And
Yes.
so that's the villain. It's obviously a very unusual villain for Doctor Who. We've had a couple of instances of kind of reality stories. One I'm thinking of is the episode Bad Wolf, where we had the Ninth Doctor on those various versions of Big Brother, or the Weakest Link and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and to hear it here in this kind of more scripted reality setting was interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. Good stuff.
Yep. And we also got a couple of shout-outs in this story. One is at the end of the story, which I'm hoping you caught, when these cleanup vans arrived to kind of, help Norwich get back on its feet following all this disruption. Turns out those cleanup vans have something on the side of the van, the word Torchwood on the side of the van.
Yes, they
which
did.
Which was obviously a running theme for Series 2, and because every episode they would mention Torchwood. So it was kind of nice to have, with this story kind of being set during Series 2, to have that kind of continuity. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously we know how that turned out from later, with Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Okay, so anything else about the Zaross or the Haziri before we move on?
No, can't think of anything. Like I said, good stuff.
Yep, totally good stuff. All right, let's move on. Favorite lines of the episode. Do you have any favorite lines?
No, like I said, I did not do my homework well. I apologize.
I'm going to break out the Catholic school ruler and smack your hand.
I know. How about you? What did you get?
I've got a few here, so I can run those down. I made notes as I listened to this, so that's why I wrote it. One of the quotes I liked was, of course, the Doctor, where he says, "We need more information. If we want to save everyone, we need to know what we're dealing with. We can't just guess. I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good. Well, I am that good, but forewarned is forearmed. Actually, that'd be brilliant. Imagine having 4 arms. I could do everything I usually do and still have hands free for knitting."
Yes, that was silly, but funny.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right. And then there was a quick one with Jackie that I liked, where she said, where after Jackie punches the Haziri, and the Haziri, or Jackie says, she tells Jess, she wanted us to be rebels. I rebelled.
I love that. Yes,
which was a good Jackie moment.
Yeah, Jackie did well in this episode. She did a really good job.
Yeah, it was good. And it was good to hear Camille do this well, and she seemed like she picked right up where she left off, which was nice.
Absolutely.
Doctor had another good line when he's confronting the head Zaross for the first time. He goes, "Hey, you there, head Zaross. You order an alien nemesis with rice? Well, I've got some bad news for you. They're all out of rice."
Yes, that made me smile as well. That was very fun.
Yep. And another exchange between the Doctor and the head Zaross, where the head Zaross says, "We will activate the mega bomb." And the Doctor replies, "Mega bomb? Is that even a thing? Have you just made that up?" Zaross replies, "No, this is it." And the Doctor looks at it and goes, No, No, that's not a bomb. That's a tube with a couple of buttons in it.
Yeah, and I did love when the guy finally broke character and it's like, okay, I don't know what to do here. Can someone step in?
Yes.
It's like,
yeah,
okay,
he's all confused. He's like, yeah. He's like, he talks to the director and he's
yeah.
like, I don't know what to do here. Help me out.
I've improv'd as long as I can, and this guy is just not working with me. Talk to me. What's going on?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then lastly, I thought this was a great line, and a very meta line, I thought, at the end of the episode, where the doctor is responding to Rose's question about whether she was tempted by the director's offer and about fame and fortune. The doctor replies, "Fame and fortune? Yuck. Who wants that? I've got the TARDIS. I've got you. What else does a wandering Time Lord need?" Rose replies, "Good cup of tea?" The doctor replies, "There is that, yes. It'd never have worked anyway, eh? Who wants to watch a TV series without me?"
Yes.
Very
merry. Yes. Yeah, good. All right, so Charles.
Yes.
Ratings.
My rating for this one. I enjoyed this. I thought it was good. Good first audio. I give it a solid 8.5 camera drones.
Okay, well, I was going to do 8 Torchwood vans, but you stole that reveal.
Well, you can do that too.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it 8 executive credit rankings. I really like this one a lot. I thought it was clever. It was great to hear Tennant and Piper again. So, yeah, well done. Good job again, Big Finish.
Yep, always entertaining. Big Finish is always pretty much a solid, consistent quality, and I like that.
Yeah, I think so too. Did we get any feedback, Charles?
We do, but do you want me to do a reverse the polarity segment?
Oh, yes,
first?
We do. I always forget these two. I always get them mixed up. Let's do the reverse the polarity.
That's okay. I'm just forgettable. No big deal. I feel like the Frizzell now. I'm
okay,
ignored.
Please don't put on makeup and go invade people.
Well, invading people, that sounds fun, actually. All right. So we're going to reverse the polarity this time. Back to 1968 with The Mind Robber. And this is because in the episode, or in Infamy of the Zaross, at the end of the story, the doctor suggests that he and Rose can visit the land of fiction, and for another opportunity to see fictional characters. And Rose is like, "Well, I've had enough of fictional characters." So this is the story where the land of fiction comes from. So, which is the obvious connection here. So I thought that might be fun if you guys want to check that out and see what the doctor was referring to. So The Mind Robber, second serial, season 6, 1968, written by Peter Ling. So after defeating the Dominators in the previous story, the second doctor sets off on a volcanic eruption, and he leaves the TARDIS along with his companions, Jamie and Zoe. So you may want to check this out because of Jamie.
Yes.
But in the process, the TARDIS gets buried in lava, blowing a fluid link in the process. Oh, noes. This forces the Doctor to use the emergency unit to take the TARDIS away from danger and indeed out of reality itself.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, they land in a white void, and as the Doctor fixes the TARDIS, Jamie and Zoe are lured outside and are confronted by strange white robots. The Doctor gets them back inside, and as they try to return to reality, the TARDIS explodes, and the travelers are scattered into nothingness.
Nice.
They end up in a forest where the trees become letters when seen from above, and the Doctor, after facing a series of riddles, finds Jamie but accidentally changes his face into a different actor because the Fraser Hines was briefly unavailable and had to be replaced by a different actor, and this is how they kind of got around this.
Oh, nice.
So they had why the different actor looked differently. They're soon reunited with Zoe, and they encounter Lemuel Gulliver from Gulliver's Travels, who gives them away to life-size toy soldiers. They continue on and reach a house where the Doctor brings Jamie back to normal, as Fraser Hines returns to the series. He was out for like an episode. They discover that the house is an entrance to a labyrinth, and here, while leaving Jamie behind, the Doctor and Zoe encounter a Minotaur and Medusa, whom they publicly state don't exist, and therefore they disappear. So, problem solved. The Doctor and Zoe exit the labyrinth, encounter the Carcass, a cartoon superhero character from Zoe's home era. Zoe beats the Carcass into submission with her martial arts skills, and he allies himself with them. The Carcass takes them to the Citadel, where they find Jamie, who's there, who was taken there. Zoe accidentally sets off an alarm, but the white robots show up to take them to the main control room. Here they meet the master of the land of fiction, not the master of the land of fiction.
Right.
A kidnapped Earth Rider who underwent the same test they went through when he first arrived. He tells to everyone that he's getting old and he needs the Doctor to replace him as the creative source for the land of fiction. While he's talking, Jamie and Zoe encounter the white robots again and become trapped in a giant book, turning them into fictional characters. The Doctor refuses the Master's offer and climbs out through a skylight. The Master uses Jamie and Zoe to trap the Doctor and links him up to what's called a Master Brain. The two battle, psychically, summoning up various fictional characters to fight against one another. The Doctor, of course, wins, releases Jamie and Zoe from the Master's control, overloads the Master Brain, leaving the white robots with only the final order to destroy. The Doctor unplugs the Master from the brain. The white robots destroy the Master Brain. The TARDIS comes back together, and normality is restored as our travelers go back through traveling through space and time once again.
Nice.
Yep. So, great little story, The Mind Robber. Check that out. Hardly recommended. And if nothing else, it's always fun to watch the Second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe.
Absolutely,
one of my favorite TARDIS teams.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, so we do have some feedback, but only from Paul from Australia this week.
All right.
So Paul writes in, "Hi, Zaross and Jesse. Unfortunately, due to work commitments, I haven't been able to listen yet to this week's topic. I've been training new staff for the past 2 weeks, and I think my head is going to explode. I'll be listening to your show, though, with great interest, as I love that David, Billie, and Camille are back together for this recording. Something I doubted might ever happen. Thank you, Big Finish! ! I saw someone's review of this, and they said it was like Doctor Who meets the Space Kardashians, which made me giggle. Anyway, I hope you have a great show."
Funny.
Yep. Anyway, I hope you have a great show. Kindest regards, as always, Paul. P.S. We'll be back on deck for next time for whatever is next. So, as Paul is so great at setting us up, next time on Next Stop Everywhere, we're going to talk about The Sword of the Chevalier, which is the second CD from Big Finish's Doctor Who, The 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 2 set, starring David Tennant and Billie Piper, if that's okay with you.
Yes, that sounds great.
So we might as well finish out this little trilogy. So in the meantime, if you'd like to reach us here at Next Stop Everywhere, just like Paul, you can drop us in line at nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. Don't forget the SMG, that's for Southgate Media Group. So nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And let us know what you're thinking of the show and what you think of this trilogy of audio adventures from Big Finish. And otherwise, you can reach us on the Twitter machine at NextStopSMG on Twitter, or our Facebook account, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. And while you're at it, why don't you go to iTunes and leave us a review, what you think of our little show, if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. But obviously, we'd love to hear more from you, and leaving a review on iTunes helps people find us, so that would be great as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Jesse, how about you? How can they reach you?
Well, I can be reached on, as you say, the Twitter machine at Jesse Jackson DFW. I also am on Facebook under Jesse Jackson. And if you want to hear me talk about music and Bruce Springsteen, you can catch me on Set Lusting Bruce. And I also every once in a while show up on the Fandom Zone, which isn't that a podcast you do?
Why, yes, Jesse. Thank you so much for setting that up, teeing that up nicely. So, yeah, Jesse's been kind enough to help us out on the Phantom Zone. He was recently on episode 132. I'm hoping he'll come back this afternoon for episode 133 as we talk about the Krypton premiere. I'm hoping to tease him with that a little bit. If not, no big deal. He obviously has one or two podcasts of his own, so I understand how busy he is. But yeah, my other podcast, the Phantom Zone podcast, Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast that I do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk all things Twin Peaks, and Titan Talk, the Titans podcast that I do with certain Jesse Jackson, where we recently recorded our 4th episode, and with Phil Parrish. So Phil, if you're listening, thanks for helping us out on that one. And as we kind of talk about various Teen Titans eras and Titans eras and all the news and information about the upcoming DC Universe digital series Titans. So
Absolutely.
Please check that out. Otherwise, you can reach me on the Twitter machine at Charles Skaggs or on Instagram at Charles Skaggs. Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus. So shout out to Karen. And Facebook, of course, Charles Skaggs, and my blog at Geeky Things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about all things Next Stop Everywhere, and Doctor Who, and Torchwood, and all kinds of comic book, sci-fi news of casting news, trailers, you name it, it's probably on there. Stuff that I find interesting, and I hope you do as well. Appreciate you checking that out. And, of course, information about all the podcasts that I do here for the Southgate Media Group.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, Jesse, anything else you'd like to add before we head out?
No, another great choice. I'm excited about hearing the next chapter, so that should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And my quote to end is, I've seen fake gods and bad gods and demigods and would-be gods. Out of all that, out of that whole pantheon, if I believe in one thing, just one thing, I believe in her.
Nice. And where's that from?
That is, of course, the Doctor from the Satan Pit, talking about Rose.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you.
Well, which is also from Series 2. Well
yes,
played.
Indeed.
Well played, sir.
Thank you.
So everybody come on back for Next Stop Everywhere, episode 109, The Sword of the Chevalier. I think it's going to be fun, and I hope everybody enjoys it. And you've got a couple weeks to listen to it, so come on back, and we'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.